You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, sports fans! Welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am Jacob Valk, and this is my NFL free agency preview. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the 40 best free agents according to Pro Football Focus, and I'm going to tell you where I think they're going to go. I'm going to tell you how much I think they're going to get, and stuff like that. But before I get into that, I just want to say a couple things. Firstly, I saw a report that said that the NFL could postpone the start of free agency because they don't like the optics of players getting huge contracts in the midst of everything that's happening with the coronavirus. The NFL, for years, for decades, has never been concerned about the optics. You cannot turn around and say that you care about the optics now. No. If you care about optics, then be consistent with it. It doesn't apply to just now. If this marks a changing of the guard for the NFL, where they start caring about optics, okay, fine, I can accept that. But I don't think Goodell is changing his approach. It's worked for him. It seems like the NFL is going to get a new CBA at some point. I don't know how quickly they're going to get it, but I don't think we're staring at another lockout. Goodell has lifted the NFL up to new heights. I don't think he's changing his approach. And secondly, the NFL has a monopoly right now on sports coverage. When these guys start getting these big contracts, all anyone is going to be talking about is the NFL. They don't have to split time with March Madness. They don't have to split time with the NHL, the NBA, the start of baseball. The NFL has a monopoly on sports. Why would they give that up? That makes no sense. And it's not like this is going to be shut down because of the coronavirus. All people are saying is just postpone mass gatherings. What's the biggest gathering the NFL is going to have over free agency? A press conference? How many people are at a press conference? 100 max? No, I do not think the NFL is going to change anything. They may do something with the draft, but that's over a month away. We will cross that bridge when we get there. But enough of the minutia. Let's just jump right into Drew Brees, who Pro Football Focus has ranked as the best free agent in the NFL. I think he's staying with the Saints. He's been pretty consistent in saying the only team he's going to play for is the Saints, or he's going to retire. I don't care about their love affair with Taysom Hill. I like Hill. He's a fun player. But Taysom Hill cannot be a starting quarterback in the NFL. He has to prove it. If Brees gets hurt, I have no problem with Hill stepping in and showing what he can do. But the Saints cannot let Drew Brees walk. to give Taysom Hill an opportunity to start. Breeze is coming back, and he's getting at least $30 million a year. The second guy on the list is Dak Prescott. I don't think there's a doubt that he is staying with the Cowboys. The only question is going to be, how much money are they going to give him? Look, is Prescott a great quarterback? No. He may be top 10 if I'm being generous. He's definitely in the top half of quarterbacks in the league. I like Prescott. I think Prescott's a very good quarterback. And he's in the prime of his career. Those guys get paid. The only question is going to be how much. Is Dak Prescott better than Russell Wilson? No. Is he better than Roethlisberger? It's close. He's not better than Aaron Rodgers. He's better than Jared Goff. He's better than Carson Wentz. Prescott is getting a huge contract. The only question is he going to break Wilson's record? Russell Wilson has the record for biggest contract in NFL history for a quarterback when you look at AAV. Wilson's making $35 million. Prescott can get 36. That's how free agency works. That's how paying quarterbacks works. It's not about who's the best. It's just about when it's your turn to get paid. He's certainly going to get north of 33 mil. And he's probably going to get signed for at least, let's say, 5 or 6 years. Moving on now to Tom Brady. I said this week that I think he's staying with the Patriots. The only thing that I think could change is, historically, Brady has taken pay cuts to help the Patriots build a winner. I don't think he's going to do that here. I think Brady realizes the leverage that he has. It's the first time he's ever been a free agent. You just know that he's going to play the Patriots off against other teams. And there's a real chance that Brady can get a little shy of $30 million a year. The Patriots have over $41 million in cap space. Brady's going to eat up a sizable percentage of that. Now, whether it's the right decision to bring Brady back or not, that's a different argument. But I think if you have a lifer in Brady, you can't let him leave. How bad would that look? You're replacing Tom Brady with who? Andy Dalton? Will Belichick and McDaniels be able to help Dalton out? No question. But he won't be Brady. I understand the argument of getting younger quarterback, and for years, the Patriots have drafted these developmental quarterbacks with the hope of turning them into the heir apparent. Ryan Mallett, Garoppolo, Brissett, Jarrett Stidham, Danny Etling, and it didn't work out for him. Garoppolo and Brissett look like they're going to be solid quarterbacks, but certainly not for the Patriots. The Patriots do need to find an heir apparent. The only difference is, now we can see the end of the road. This will be Brady's last contract. I think Brady's going to sign a 2-year deal with the Patriots. It'll take him up to his age 45 season, and then that's it. He's going to retire. Belichick is going to retire. He's going to hand the reins over to Josh McDaniels, and McDaniels and the young quarterback that he drafted he meaning Belichick, will lead the Patriots into the future. Alright, this is where it gets fun. The next guy on the list is Phillip Rivers. Tom Telesco has said that he is going to let Rivers walk. I understand why he's doing it. It's a new era with the Chargers. They're probably going to take Justin Herbert. They're rolling with Austin Eckler as their running back, and him, Keenan Allen, and maybe Hunter Henry, along with Mike Williams, are going to lead the Chargers into the future. But it brings up an interesting question of where Phillip Rivers is going to go. I think he's going to the Buccaneers, with an honorable mention to the Panthers. The thing with Rivers is, he really wants to win. This is his best opportunity to get a Super Bowl. The Chargers proved for years that they couldn't put a good team around Rivers. And Rivers isn't a good playoff quarterback anyway. That's a bad combination. You put him in Tampa Bay, where he's been looking at houses. You put him with Bruce Arians. You put him on a Buccaneers team that would have won a lot more games if Jameis Winston didn't throw a bunch of interceptions. Yeah, that's a good Buccaneers team. They also have an insane amount of cap space, just under $80 million. The reason that I mentioned the Panthers as just an honorable mention is, firstly, I just don't think that Rivers is going to work in Matt Rule's system. The Panthers are going to need a quarterback. It's not Kyle Allen. Is it Will Grier? Probably not. But the Panthers also don't have a lot of cap space. They only have $33 million. To sign Rivers to, a $25 million a year contract? Which is what I think he's going to get. That eats up a lot of that cap space. And the Panthers need a lot of help. Now, it could work if Rivers is enamored with Matt Rule. They could sign Rivers and just look to fill all their holes in the draft. They're not going to be in position to take one of the big quarterbacks. Burrow's going 1, Tua's going 5, Herbert's going 6, I think. That leaves the Panthers, Jaguars, and the other teams behind them up a certain type of creek without a paddle. So if the Panthers want to try to trade up to take one of those quarterbacks, they can. It makes sense to go after Rivers, but I think he's going to the Buccaneers. Moving on now to Ryan Tannehill. And firstly, let me just say that to have Ryan Tannehill ahead of guys like Amari Cooper, Byron Jones, and Chris Harris Jr. is ridiculous. But whatever, I'm sticking with this list. I think Tannehill is staying with the Titans. The Titans have been pretty consistent in saying that they want to keep him. The only way that they will let him walk is if they can get Brady. And does it make sense for Brady to go to the Titans? Yes. But, as I said before, I don't think he's leaving. Tannehill is fine. They kind of have no choice but to bring him back. The thing is, how long are they going to sign him for? Realize he only has this one magical year. And he's 31 years old. What are you going to do? Sign him to a 4-year contract? That won't work. That will not end well. 2 is the absolute max I would go. I'd give him about $25 million. And really, you gotta just hope for the best. You gotta hope that Mike Vrabel and Arthur Smith can repeat the magic that they had last year with Tannehill. Tannehill is not great. He is not the 5th best free agent in this class, but I'm sticking with Pro Football Focus here. Moving on now to a non-quarterback, thank God. and that is Amari Cooper. You have to think that the Cowboys want to keep him. We all know the story. Underachieves with Gruden, gets traded to the Cowboys for a first-round pick. Everyone's laughing at Jerry Jones, and then Jones gets the last laugh when Cooper looks like the second coming of Michael Irvin. And the Cowboys certainly have the cap space to keep him around. He's going to want a huge contract. He'll probably want $17 million at least. And even then, it could very easily go up to 20. I think Cooper's going to stay with the Cowboys. It wouldn't stun me if Cooper walked in free agency, just because the Cowboys are going to have a lot of big contracts on their books. Do they want another one? I think they should bring Cooper back, but if he wanted to go to a team like the Colts or another team that needs a wide receiver with gobs and gobs of cap space, yeah, it wouldn't stun me. Alright, this is pretty interesting. Pro Football Focus has Chris Jones as the best defensive free agent. I don't know if I agree with that. I think I'd put Byron Jones ahead of him, but whatever. Certainly Davion Clowney I would put ahead of Chris Jones. I know that he had a really good playoffs, and obviously he has the Super Bowl ring, but no. I don't think he should be ranked this high, but whatever. It doesn't matter. I don't think the Chiefs are going to bring him back. The Chiefs only have $13 million in cap space. They just don't have the money for it. This is where a team like the Panthers really comes into play. David Tepper has shown that he is not afraid to spend money. He went hard after the sexy new coach in Matt Rule. The Panthers have gobs and gobs of cap space. Over $33 million. I think they're going to look to spend it on Chris Jones. The Panthers need help on that defensive line. Gerald McCoy and Dontari Poe had good years, but they didn't have great years. And can you really trust Kawan Short to come back from injury and look like the Short of old? I think Jones is destined for Carolina. As for how much he's going to get, he's probably going to get $18 million, at least. He'll be the second highest paid interior defensive lineman in football in terms of AAV, behind only Aaron Donald. I don't think there's a question about that. Moving on now to Anthony Harris. And this is a tough one. You know that I think that safeties are sort of kind of overrated. Not free safeties. Free safeties are invaluable, and if I was a defensive coordinator, I'd have 2 free safeties, but 0 strong safeties. And that's the thing with Harris. He kind of plays both. The way that the Vikings have Harris and Harrison Smith is they kind of alternate between free safety and strong safety. They disguise their coverages really well, and it makes it almost impossible to plan for. That's part of the reason why they were so successful last year. But let's assume that Harris is just going to play free safety. Okay, I think that's a fair assumption. When I look at the teams that need safeties, there aren't a lot of them. There's only one team that needs a safety and has a bunch of cap space, and that's the Cleveland Browns. Now, I have no idea what this new front office is going to do. The one thing that bodes well for Harris going to Cleveland is, obviously he's a former Viking, and Kevin Stefanski is the Vikings' former offensive coordinator. Now, I don't know how much time the two of them spent together, And I don't know what the analytics say, because that's all DePodesta cares about. But where else are the Browns going to spend that money? They have over $60 million in cap space. It makes a ton of sense to throw a bunch of money at Anthony Harris. Quite honestly, it wouldn't bother me if they paid him $15 million a year. Made him the highest paid safety in football. They have the money. They should use it. Give him a 5-year deal. And watch the Browns contend again. Moving on now to Byron Jones. And, look, I've said this before. I'll say it again. I want Byron Jones on the Jets. And, man, this is tough. The fan in me will not let me say that I think Byron Jones is going anywhere but the Jets. Sorry. I just have to. I have to say that Byron Jones is going to the Jets. Look, it makes sense. As it stands right now, they have over $50 million in cap space. They could have more before the new league year starts. I honestly think that Byron Jones is going to go to the Jets. As for how much he's going to get, he could easily get $16 million. He could break the record. Richest contract in NFL history for a cornerback. He's that good. I know that the Jets haven't had good luck with that recently with Trumaine Johnson, but Byron Jones is infinitely better than Johnson ever was. Moving on now to Chris Harris. And this is really, really tough. There are 5 teams I could see him going to. The Eagles, Lions, Raiders, Redskins, or Texans. They all need cornerbacks. They all have a lot of money. I'm going to narrow it down to the Raiders and Redskins just because the Raiders, I think, are going to look to make a big splash in free agency with their impending move to Las Vegas. And the Redskins, historically, give big contracts to free agents on the older side. Having said that, though, I think the Raiders are going to be the most motivated to get a deal done. It wouldn't surprise me if Harris went to any one of those 5 teams, but I'm going to say that he's going to the Raiders for at least $13 million a year. Alright, I'm just getting out of the top 10? Wow. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 11 through 20 now, and 21 through 40 will be at some point in time over the weekend. Because this is taking longer than I expected. It's good, I like doing this, it's just, wow. This is taking longer than I thought. Moving on now to AJ Green. And who's going to sign the really good wide receiver coming off an injury? I'll tell you right now, I don't think he's going to the Bengals. I don't think he's staying there. I think the Bengals are going to look to get younger. They hired a young head coach. They're going to draft a young quarterback. AJ Green doesn't fit that. I understand that Mike Brown has always shown loyalty to his guys, but I just don't think Green is destined to stay in Cincinnati. I've narrowed it down to 2 teams. The Colts and the Redskins. The Colts desperately need another wide receiver to play alongside T.Y. Hilton. Zach Pascal and Chester Rogers and guys like that are decent, but they're not that good. Having said that, though, do you want to pair an injury-prone wide receiver with another injury-prone wide receiver? And when you look at the Redskins, they always sign an older free agent. Only this time it really makes sense because they need someone to play alongside Terry McLaurin, who I picked with the last pick that I had in my fantasy football draft. I'm still amazed I was able to pull that off. I'm going to say that AJ Green is going to go to the Redskins for 4 years at least $12 million a year. Going back to quarterbacks now, and we are on to Jameis Winston, the most enigmatic quarterback in the NFL. He joined the 30-30 club, and that's not a good thing. 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions in the same season. That is unreal. There's only one team that I can see signing him, and that's the Panthers. Now, I understand that since I have him signing Chris Jones, they're not going to have a lot of money to spend. But it makes sense for Winston to take a 1-year prove-it deal. And I'm going to tell you why. Winston is still young. He's only 26 years old. He gets the opportunity to play with a so-called offensive wunderkind in Matt Rule. He'll have Christian McCaffrey there. There are very low expectations with the Panthers. No one is expecting them to immediately go from how bad they were last year, and let's be honest, they were a really bad team, to a playoff team. They're going to slowly build to that. I mean, they just lost Luke Kuechly and Greg Olsen. No one's expecting them to go immediately into the playoffs. I think Winston is going to take a discount to go to the Panthers. It's his only option since I have Rivers going to the Buccaneers. Moving on now to Davion Clowney, and you know how much I want him on the Jets. And you know what? I think it's going to happen for the same reason I think Byron Jones is going to happen. I think Clowney's going to happen. The Jets desperately need him. And here's something that I've actually seen on Jets Twitter. Spend all this money on offense, none on defense. Why would you already improve a very good defense as opposed to an anemic offense? Well, for starters, the Jets have over $50 million in cap space. They're going to have over $60 million soon. Or at least they can. There's plenty of money to go around. And you're running into a very dangerous issue there. If you're saying that the personnel doesn't matter because Greg Williams is the defensive coordinator, which is what these people are saying, then let's just put the 11 worst defensive players in the NFL on the Jets. Then you know what? If that's the case, don't complain if the Jets trade Jamal Adams. No, it makes no sense. Talent wins over scheme in the NFL. I think Davion Clowney's going to the Jets. As for how much he's going to get, I'd be surprised if he topped Khalil Mack. It wouldn't surprise me if he topped Von Miller. I think the Jets are going to try to get him for $17 million a year. But it wouldn't surprise me if the bidding ended up going to over $20 million a year. It does beg the question, though, since there are so many really good edge rushers available with Clowney, Shaq Barrett, Yannick Ngakoue, and guys like that, would the Jets be better off going after one of those guys as opposed to plopping $20 million on Clowney? That's a fair argument, but I think that Clowney is head and shoulders better than all of them. And they will have the cap space. Use it. Get the best players you can to fill your positions of need. Moving on now to Marcus Mariota. And how can you have Mariota as the 14th best free agent? He's not better than Anthony Castonzo. He's not better than Robbie Anderson. I don't even know if he's better than Bridgewater. I've run out of teams to put starting quarterbacks on, So I'll say that he's going to go to a team where he's going to have to fight to be the starter. The only two teams that fit that mold are the Bears and the Dolphins. Mariota can take his pick between the two. I think Mariota makes more sense for the Bears, just because I really think they want to try to make it work with Trubisky, and Mariota isn't going to command as much as a guy like Bridgewater. That's who I'm looking at. Bridgewater's 19th. I think I'm going to have him go to the Dolphins. Yeah, I like that. Okay, let's say Mariota Bears, Bridgewater Dolphins. And they'll go there for about $8 million a year. For 1 year. Maybe 2. Moving on now to Hunter Henry. And I think the Chargers are going to be motivated to keep him. He's young. He's talented. He just needs to stay healthy. I hate injuries. Like, name one good thing that happens with an injury. You want to tell me you like to see these unsung guys step up? Okay, that's all well and good, but then you're missing those premier talents. It's very rare that you can find a guy off the scrap heap that's going to match the production of the guy who got hurt. Hunter Henry's insanely talented. He had a nice bounce-back season. He only missed 4 games, which isn't bad for him considering that he missed all of 2018. I think the Chargers are going to be motivated to bring him back. As for how much he's going to get, let's say $7 million for 1 year. He'll match Greg Olson's contract. Moving on now to Cory Littleton. And Littleton is one of the most underrated players in the NFL. Year in and year out, he puts up solid production. Now, he's not great, but he's not terrible. He's very, very good. When I look at teams that need a linebacker and have the money to sign a guy like Littleton, I'm zeroing in on the Detroit Lions. Jelani Tavai has not worked for them. He has been an unmitigated disaster. Jalen Reeves-Maybin stinks. Miles Killebrew stinks. Christian Jones and Jared Davis aren't that good either. I think Cory Littleton is destined to go to Detroit. As for how much he's going to get, let's say $11 million a year. Maybe 12, but that's the absolute limit. Moving on now to Anthony Castonzo, and the Colts have to bring him back. It's just that simple. There's no other place that he's going to go but the Colts. He's been there his whole career. The Colts have the money to bring him back. They have the second most cap space in the NFL. I think they're going to re-sign Castonzo to a 4-year deal worth, let's say, $12.5 a year. Maybe a little more than that. You don't need me to tell you how important it is to give Brissett a good O-line. He's not that great anyway, so you've got to keep him upright. You've got to give him time to work. That's why I went really fast through Castonzo. And I'm going to move really quickly through the next guy on the list, which is Robbie Anderson. I mentioned him earlier this week. I want him back on the Jets. I think he will be back on the Jets. Having said that, though, if the Jets decide that they can't address their other needs while bringing Anderson back, it wouldn't upset me at all if the Jets let Anderson walk and used one of their day 2 picks on a wide receiver in this stacked class. 19 is Teddy Bridgewater. Already mentioned him. The final guy who I'm going to go through today is Justin Simmons. The Broncos cannot let him get away. He was their best defender last year by far. Not even close. They have the money to bring him back, over $57 million. it's a no-brainer to bring Justin Simmons back. Also, the only other team that needs a safety under this scenario is the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I just don't see them spending the money to get a guy like Justin Simmons. I think it's going to take a huge contract to get him. Like $13 million a year. I don't see the Jaguars doing that. Alright, so that's part 1 of my NFL free agency preview. Part 2 will be posted this weekend, so keep an eye out for it. When that is over, I'm going to lay out my plan for next week. Until next time, I am Jacob Valk saying that Rob Manfred is the best commissioner in baseball today.